I do want to take on the word that has bounced around the edge here, capitalism. I'm with the Pope. He's opened up this space. He has said explicitly, we've got to talk about capitalism. I'm with Bernie, who's talking about capitalism. And I want to suggest to you, I'm talking to the person in your chair, that this issue is now on the table. I come out of straight politics. I used to work in the House and Senate, policy planning, the State Department. I was Gaylord Nelson's legislative director. He was one of the great environmentalists. We didn't talk about capitalism. We talked about reform. We talked about legislation. We talked about small steps. And they were important. I'm not knocking it. But those days, I think, are over. That era is over. We're now facing trends of the kind that are sketched here that are not going to be easily reformed away. That means you have to change the system. Now, just grapple with that. Change the system. You are talking about the most powerful corporate capitalist system in the history of the world. And the name of the game is to change that system, or you get more. The large corporations must grow. Whether they like it or not, they've got to go to Wall Street to get their capital, and the only way they can do that is they have to grow. And they have to sell you that crap, and they have to change the distribution of income, because that's how they get profits. Those are mechanics and dynamics. We all kind of know that. We don't really face it, and we don't talk about an alternative, because the alternatives we know about, state socialism, were worse. So now you not only have to have a revolution, which is hard enough, you have to come up with a better system. By the way, that's the challenge. There's no way around that. That's what we're facing. But I want to suggest to you that we are at a moment in history, think carefully, when all of the trends are going south. Income distribution, climate, growth, etc., poverty, race, you know these numbers. And when the concentration of income is so extreme, 400 people, you could get them in this room, have more wealth than the bottom 180 million people. I often use that number, and I say that's a medieval number. But a medieval historian came up to me and said, no, it's never that bad. And he was right. That sense of where we're going, however, is beginning, I think, increasingly to raise grave doubts. Bernie would not be doing as well as he's doing, and nor would the other side. People sense there's something really wrong. That's a big deal when a society reaches that point. And I don't say it lightly, I say it as a historian. That's a moment of potential prehistory. I'm using my words carefully. Prehistory, when maybe the foundations for something transformative can be laid. I did not say the revolution tomorrow. I said that maybe we have the possibility of laying down the foundations upon which the transformation can occur. And what do I mean by that? All over this country in the last 30 years, quietly, people have been going right at the heart of capitalism in a very American, down-home, non-statist, non-ideological, practical, and a very American way. People are, in fact, building co-ops. That's really weird. It's changing and democratizing the ownership of capital. There are some 140 million people involved in co-ops. Most people don't know that. That's if you include all these credit unions, which are cooperative banks. There are about 14 million people involved in worker-owned companies. People don't really know that's happening. There is 25% of American electricity is by city-owned or cooperative development. People don't know that. These are all socialist principles in mini, if you like. People get to own. And there is a developmental process that's going on in many parts of the country, almost always both changing and democratizing ownership from the bottom up, almost always ecologically strong and green, and almost always redistributive.